If you're not down with Purdy, then walk away. But please don't tell me Kirk Cousins is the answer.
We know that they're going for top of the market money. We know that the Niners say that they're committed to signing Purdy to an extension this offseason. So are the two sides going to work together and we're going to get a deal? My guess is that in the Niners' ideal world, he makes 40, and in Brock's ideal world and his agent's ideal world, he makes 60, and they settle on 50. And that, to me, is a fair price for Brock Purdy. Why? Because he's as good as Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts makes 51. He's as good or better than Tua Tagovailoa. He makes 53. I looked at the list yesterday of the NFL quarterbacks that make over $50 million, and Brock is better than basically all of them except for Joe Burrow almost. I mean, he's literally has done more than all of them have done. So, we'll see how it all shakes out when it all comes down. But
do you have that list in front of you, or can you access it? How many quarterbacks, Larry, are making $50 million a year?
9.
There's 9 guys. So a third of the league is a $50 million a year quarterback.
So this is what it is. Here's the top of the scale. Dak Prescott is number 1.
Yep.
Okay, he's number 1. He makes $60 million. He's 2-5 in the playoffs. He's got no rings. Joe Burrow's next. He makes 55. Joe Burrow's only 35-30 in one career, but he's 5-2 in the playoffs, but he has no rings.
Joe Burrow is so good, no one looks at Cincinnati failure and attributes it to him in any way, shape, or form. So that's
Jordan Love makes 55. He's 1-1 in the playoffs, with the loss being to the Niners, no rings. Trevor Lawrence makes 55. He's 22-38 career, 1-1 in the playoffs, no rings. Tua Tagovailoa makes 53. He's 0-1 in the playoffs, obviously no rings. Jared Goff makes $53 million. He's 4-4 in the playoffs, no rings. Justin Herbert makes 52.5. He's 38-38 career, 0-1 in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson is making $52 million. He's 2-4 in the playoffs, no rings. And Jalen Hurts is making 51. He's 2-3 in the playoffs, no rings. Brock Purdy, just for those who are counting, 23-11 in the regular season, 4-2 in the playoffs. And he also has no rings, but he has won an NFC Championship game. So that's where Brock's at. And Damon, to me, here are the options. Sign Brock to about $50 million. Richard Sherman said it yesterday in a video. You're not getting him for less than $50 million. You're just not. And even the $50 million would be a concession on his agent's part, really, because he probably deserves, like the other quarterbacks deserve.
Yeah, here's the thing. The timing of the market is going to dictate this more than the player, his resume, his anything. It's happening. He's north of 55. I can just tell you that right now. It's going to happen.
As far as why did Dak get 60? Because he was the most recent guy to sign. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo had the record-setting deal when the Niners signed him. So, I mean, the trend in the NFL is that the guy who gets paid the most recent is at the top of the scale, typically, if he is a top-tier quarterback. The question is he a top-tier quarterback? And a lot of people would say, based on what they've seen this year, that he's not. Now, his elbow injury and his shoulder injury, I don't know if it infected his throwing, but just watching him in the last 2 or 3 weeks, his deep ball is hanging. It's got a lot of loop, and it's really hanging. So, I don't know if he's lost arm strength. I will say this. He had just barely requisite arm strength. That's how I described his arm strength. It wasn't good enough as far as I was concerned in college, but then he built it up in Jacksonville working with throwing coaches, and it became requisite, just enough to survive. Well, if he's lost any arm strength because of the shoulder injury or the elbow injury or fatigue or whatever, or just he doesn't get a good grip on a wet ball in the December weather, any of those things, and you're talking about a guy whose deep ball is hanging, and if your deep ball hangs, you're not as effective and you're not as dangerous because you can't make those throws. And that's what I'm seeing. So I don't know I don't know what the answer is. Is he physically right? I think I'd want to find that out. But I looked at the options. Here are the options.
I mean, well, before we go to the options, how much of that hang is on Purdy, his physicality, his arm strength, whatever, and how much is that on him beyond George Kittle not having any confidence throwing to anybody? Sure, Jawan Jennings is a trusted agent, but I think that like Purdy's, it's the wrong year to reach your final evaluation on anybody on this team, isn't it? Especially Brock Purdy with all the problems at wide receiver that we've seen. Like,
well,
I mean,
it's not about final evaluations. I mean, I don't make final evaluations. I evaluate every week as we go. And, these are moving. These are, it's a moving target. I mean, if you do personnel, the guys who are really good at it are current. They're not just good, they're current. So you have to be current on what are we seeing. And right now, currently, Brock is not throwing the ball well. He's not seeing the field. And I think his dial, Damon, is a little off. Where last year, his risk reward dial was perfectly set.
Yep.
This year, I'll just take the throw that cost him the game against the Rams.
That was the most disappointing throw of his season, without a doubt.
I mean, but it was disappointing in real time. It was horrific upon the rewatch.
Yep.
When you watch the All-22, what you saw was the Rams in like almost a prevent where they were literally had all of their defenders deep, and they were giving Brock 3 different options of checkdowns across the intermediate, and he chose none of them.
Right.
With the rusher in his face. And you saw what Brock saw. He had a rusher in his face. He's leaning back. He didn't see JJ. He just put it in harm's way. Just floated it in the middle of the field on second down when they were already in field goal range in a field goal game. He gave away the season on a blind pass. It was fucking horrible. So it's one pass, but it shows that his dials of risk reward are all fucked up. And it's probably due to the fact that his weapons have deserted him. I mean, let's be honest, outside of Kittle, everybody else tucked tail and got the hell out of there. I mean, I'm not saying they quit on him like Devondre Campbell, but they're not the guys. Last year, McCaffrey, Deebo, and Ayuk had 40 touchdowns combined. They have 2 right now, 2, like as in me and you. So that's not good. And the worst part of all of it is that next year, the worst part is next year, because it's not just that they went from 40 to 2. Okay, that happened. It's about, they went from 40 to 2, and they're way more likely to get 2 next year than they are to get 40. So that's the real problem, is that what do you do when you have all this money tied up in those freaking guys and they're all kind of cooked? What do you do? That's where they're at.
Well,
it's a tough question, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it is not an easy situation that the 49ers have laid out in front of them with all the moving pieces, and then Brock unto himself. There are some very big, very consequential, will dictate the next 4 or 5 years of your win-loss record decisions coming up in this offseason. Again, if there is any doubt, and they haven't expressed any publicly, the 49ers are going to make Brock Purdy the highest paid player in football, at least from what they're saying. If they have any internal doubt, walk away, reset the whole thing, because what's real is the 49ers probably aren't back in the playoffs next year without radical redefinition of who the weapons are on this team and a full-on reload. And I don't know how many levers they're going to have to really pull to regenerate the team. And even with another good draft, we know that Kyle's not going to play. There is no – Kyle Shanahan would have figured out a way not to play Jamar Chase in his rookie year. He would have figured out a way not to play Justin Jefferson in his rookie year. Kyle doesn't like rookies. Full stop. All of them. Probably don't even like Dominic Pooney, even though he's playing well. Just he's not a let's have the kids save the season type of coach. It's just not who he is. So I don't know if there's a really big step forward waiting for the 49ers. I think this is going to be a little bit of a purge what you got before you can just start replacing everyone. So I think there's 2 years of work here. And again, if you're not down with Purdy, then walk away. But please don't tell me Kirk Cousins is the answer. I just watched a guy throw so many interceptions, he's gotten benched. I've never seen Brock Purdy throw 9 interceptions in between touchdown passes. And neither of you, because it's never happened, and I doubt it ever will. Like, the Kirk Cousins might be the answer crowd. Is like, again, this is why not everyone should be given a platform. I don't understand it. I really don't understand.
Well, I mean,
Brock can't win.
I mean, yeah, you do understand it. I mean, you understand exactly why Kirk Cousins is being suggested, because Kyle loves Kirk Cousins. And
Cousins 5 years ago, Kyle. 10 years ago, 6 years ago. I mean, everything.
That's why.
But if we're staying current, if we're staying current, like you said, good talent evaluators are current. I'm currently looking at a quarterback. I'm not interested in Kirk Cousins. And even
but who's saying it? I mean, that's the other thing. Who's saying it? I mean, it's one of many options. All right. These are the options. You can sign Brock Purdy, but you're probably going to have to sign him for $50 million, and you can build around him. And that's what I would do. You can trade Brock Purdy, but I don't know what kind of market there is for a quarterback that is going to get, is due a brand new contract right now. So nobody's getting the benefit of rookie contract Brock. You're getting Brock at whatever his agent and you can negotiate. So 40, 50, 60. I mean, you're paying him a good chunk of money. So what does that mean to other teams as far as what they would be willing to trade? I don't know. You could sign Sam Darnold, and Baldy yesterday went on the game and told Bonte and Shasky that that's what he would do, that he would sign Sam Darnold and trade Brock Purdy. Okay, Sam Darnold is 12-2 or whatever this year, but Darnold was 33-37 career, or that's what he is career, even with the 12-2. So he's gone 12-2 to make his horrendous NFL record close to 500. But that's what he is, and that's what he is with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in that offense this year. You could trade for Cousins. Cousins is 83, 74-2 career, but he's only got one playoff win, 1-3 in the playoffs. You could try to trade Brock Purdy and your draft choice to move up for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders if you really thought Shedeur Sanders was the next superstar or Cam Ward was Lamar or something. I mean, if you really thought, if you had that conviction, you could do that. You could also sign a reclamation project quarterback, of which there are 4. There's more than 4, but these are the 4 prominent ones. Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Daniel Jones. I did ask Kyle 3 weeks ago, what did you guys think of Daniel Jones? He's like, we discussed it internally. He eventually signed with Minnesota. He's a free agent this offseason. A lot of people feel like maybe Brock comes back with Daniel Jones as the backup. Or the other angle, and by the way, John Lund the other day kind of liked the idea of Daniel Jones. He thinks Daniel Jones is their guy with Brock that they'll replace their backups with next year. And then I threw out one last night that is interesting to me, and that is Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson is not a reclamation project. Russell Wilson's a future Hall of Famer. He is 37. But if by chance you said to yourself, let's just say Jed said to Kyle and John, hey, look, you guys, this is it. This was year 8. And I don't know, Damon, how long they have. Where Andy Reid had 13 years in Philly without winning, and then without winning a ring, and then they chased him out. Now look what he's got. But I don't know what Kyle's got. I don't know what John's got as far as commitment from Jed and years. But let's just say he's got 3 years. I don't know. I have no sources. I'm just throwing that out. Would you rather have Russell Wilson at like 8 million, 10 million, and then go build up around Russell Wilson for 3 years? And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Or would you rather pay Brock $50 or $55 million? Probably, as you said, have to have a transition period where you kind of transition your roster away from the old regime, not old regime, but the Deebos, the Ayuks, the CMC, and find your new Deebo, Ayuk, CMC. And that is not going to be seamless, right? And that's probably not going to be a 1-year thing. So if you only have 3 years left, and I don't know what they have left, but don't you think, I mean, if I had 3 years left, I would rather have Russell Wilson at $10 million and then have $40 million to go spend on offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, whatever, as opposed to Brock at 50 or 55 million with a lot of question marks. If I only have a year or two left to get it done. So I don't love the Russell Wilson idea, but Russell did show in Pittsburgh that if you surround him with a run game, a decent line, a good defense, and a solid organization, he still can win games and do some good things. If you really don't want to pay Brock, like you're morally offended by 50 or 55 million, that is an option to you.
Yeah,
people in the chat are freaking. No, you got this guy, Russell Wilson sucks. No, he doesn't. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's having a good year. Well, Travis is Larry is indeed insane. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't want to do that. To me, going, ultra older, tread off tire Russell Wilson at this point in time. I'm sure he knows the division from all those years up in Seattle, but I'd rather see what Tanner Mordecai's got. I really would. Show me something new.
But here's the thing, Damon.
Yeah, I mean, here's
one more thing, one more stat on this. And this is why I think when we're back to being current, the 49ers, this is on ESPN.com on the power rankings today, okay? The 49ers averaged 11.2 yards per reception allowed. Okay, that was 24th in the NFL, and they yielded 18 plays of 20-plus passing yards, tied for 16th in the first 7 weeks. Their defense has improved in this area since that point, but offensively, they're not getting chunk yardage plays, and they're not really making big plays down the field. So I don't know. I'm not really sure if Brock's arm issue or lack of deep ball zip or whatever is that like the new Brock, or is that just the diminished Brock, or is that Brock in wet weather? But it does make you pause a little bit, because he did have, like, last year he really saw it, and last year he really produced, and maybe it was because of the weapons. This year those weapons are totally gone, and now he doesn't have even replacement level players in some cases. I mean, Pearsall's run 105 routes. He has 2 catches. So, I mean, I know he's been shot, this and that. He's not doing anything. So,
well, here's the deal. So Brock Purdy is the only guy who's basically been out there for all of it, right? Like, we're not going to hold the Brandon Allen start against him. Yeah. But he's basically, he's had the entire year, and in a year where none of it's gone right. I saw this the other day. The 49ers are 8th in overall DVOA, 11th offensively, 6th defensively, 30th in special teams. They would be better if their special teams wasn't basically dead last. They're the only team in the top 16 in the NFL in DVOA with a losing record.
Right.
So,
which means they're terrible situational football team.
Right. Well, that's you failed to score the 40-plus touchdowns that you had last year. That's what that is. It's all about red zone failure. That's where this season went up in smoke for the San Francisco 49ers. You want to put that on Brock? Then walk away from Brock. You want to put that on Shanahan? Walk away from Shanahan. I actually think the thing that might be best for the 49ers is Brock Purdy and Kyle together in year 4. I know that comes at a price point that nobody really wants to go to, but the consistency and not hitting the reset button, at the very first sign of trouble is what good organizations do. Thanks for watching. Tune into the Damon Bruce Show live on YouTube every weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific.